beautiful, beautiful, beautiful humans. It's 23, I think. I'm going to start by playing you a song. This song is called A Message from the Hopi Elders. This could be a good time. 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 You have been telling the people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell the people that this is the hour. And there are things to be considered. Where are you living? What are you doing? What are your relationships? Are you in right relation? Where is your water? Know your garden. It is time to speak your truth. Create your community. Be good to each other. And do not look outside yourself for the leader. This could be a good time. 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 There is a river flowing now very fast. It is so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel they are being torn apart, and they will suffer greatly. Now the river has its destination. This could be a good time. This could be a good time. The elders say we must let go of the shore. Push off into the middle of the river. Keep our eyes open and our heads above the water. See who is in there with you and celebrate. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey comes to a halt. The time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones we've been waiting for. This could be a good time. 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 I have to remind myself of that. I don't always feel the wisdom in that beautiful message. Sometimes I feel overwhelmed by the work ahead. And I'm reminded every day with all the beautiful humans that my life has wound into this thing we call Joji, this joy of joining in, that although I'd like it to feel like it's a good time all the time, there's still so much shadow, so much shame core for us to move through. Again, going back to Dr. Hawkins' map, where if you look at that map And I'll post a picture of it so that you can get it in your head. It's 0 to 1,000 on the frequency of light, and it takes 50% of the map to get to 200. It is not proportional. The work ahead will be easier and accelerated, and it will feel destabilizing and scary and challenging. And yet, once we sort of break through of the gravitational pull of fear and scarcity and shame and blame and accountability, we will whoosh, the universe so wants to meet us in that accelerated state of yes, of consent. So there have been a lot of things happening in our community, sort of in the background. My sweet Joji Council has kind of gave them the summer off. They've been volunteering and supporting for months and months and months. And I said, I got the Joji thing. You guys go rest. And all I need of you is to show up for an interview. And they are. You're going to see some wonderful interviews ahead with all these beautiful humans who are living in a state of devotion to this idea that there is something that we would come together joyfully to join in on. Like, what is the human barn raising equivalent of a new beginning, a new start? And yet, when we occupy this field of potentiality, it also has a big work for us to move through. And I 3 different people this week are right at that 90-10, going all in on themselves, and the beckoning and the becoming, the sense of there's more for us, there's more for each of us individually. I go back to what caused me to join 3 churches and then leave them all and then stay away from big ideas that didn't have any grounding to them, to stay grounded in the idea that love is enough, and yet love is magical too. And so the last couple of episodes, I was talking about that magic and power of imagination to see ourselves beyond this moment. Dr. Joe Dispenza has been doing such beautiful work, and Bruce Lipton and Nassim Harriman and so many other beautiful quantum physicists / mystics, this convergence of physical and metaphysical, this awareness that we are more than the sum of our parts. That body of knowledge is gaining speed very, very quickly now, and that it's lining up with what we're experiencing in our bodies right now. And my body's doing just all kinds of stuff with my nervous system right now. Shingles is a nerve-ending thing, and it's just fascinating to me how so much of my work has been about the nervous system for this last few years, and it has brought me to this place of trust that every time I have leaned into taking care of myself, tending my nervous system, more and more things have opened up. So put a pin in that. I'll come back to that. My dear sisters and brothers out there, the final reckoning in the beckoning of our becoming is the deepest, darkest, hardest work we will ever do. It is the, if I must fall, let me fall, for who I will become will catch me. into the fall of an abyss of trust that does not come easily. And so I was tracking one of my beautiful Joji community sisters, and she'd kind of fallen off the radar just a bit. Still touch points here and there through this medium, but not really engaging right now, which was a sign to me that something was off. And this is, we need to track each other right now. We really need to pay attention to who's in the river with us. Because you can let go of the shore and still be struggling with the depths that we are in right now. And so she did what I am prone to do, and that's why I want to share this with you. And that is, when we are in those dark night of the soul periods, that are you willing to have a healing conversation? What is the fine print on the awakening process? And it's this deepest, darkest dive into our wounding, into our story of lack and want, and mine was deprivation. Oh my God, the addictions that we have to meet head on right now. It's big work. It's the work. Like we can be conscious of our woundology. We can meet it most of the way with grace and appreciation. And then there's the deep patterns in our brain that just keep us locked into that curse of certainty, that attachment to survival strategies, because they have served us up until now, and they no longer serve us. And yet, they're right there. They're always right there, ready to jump in and say, oh no, don't push yourself. That's too much risk, too much. You might get rejected. You might get abandoned. You might get shamed. So this movement of release that Dr. Hawkins' map has sort of laid out as the primary benchmark at this period of time that we're in, this 240, 245, 250, breaking out of the gravitational pull of shame. We're right at it, and it's creating another wave of dark nights of the soul across my awareness of lots of humans that I get to be in sacred space with. This is a time not to isolate, though. This last 10%, the 90% imagination boost, that like a booster rocket that has to get us out of this. I've been watching the show All for Humanity, so forgive the metaphor. It's a space program alternative, like what if, and starting with the fact that maybe we weren't the first ones on the moon, and maybe, like setting up a different storyline, a dimensional reality. If one or two things had happened differently, the trajectory of our story could shift dramatically. And that idea that it only takes one, if you're cruising along and then something comes along and now you're shifted, like we these moments where we are still subject to the gravity of shame, to the fear and the scarcity that has been wound into our nervous systems from before we were born, from the consciousness of our parents and our grandparents. And I just love the awareness that when a woman is pregnant and she has a daughter inside her, she also has her grandchildren inside her. We pass it down
we come by that ability, honestly. And so right now we are pulling out of multiple generations of grief and trauma, and we're also fighting this gravitational nosedive of mutual destruction, and we see the assault on human rights, we see the assault on the planet, we see the assault on our children, and our nervous systems are already fried. They're already fried. Add to that our unmet wounding, our shame core, our cynicism, our pessimism, and it's a heavy lift. It's a lot. And no one person can carry that load. No one redeemer. And if he shows up, I'll be the first to give him 100% credit for laying a foundation of possibilities for the human story to come into grace, to come into a place of forgiveness for all. So the sister has been hiding out. She's isolating. She's doing what I do when I go back into that dark night of the soul again. I can't ask for any help because I've already had help, and I am right back in, and it's some failing, some flaw in me that I can't navigate this by myself. I mean, after all, my hyper competencies, my hyper awareness, my hypervigilance, all my superpowers, once coping strategies now made into superpowers, all of those I ought to be able to cope with all that. Yeah, no. We have to come into community to heal. We have to be together to heal. A brother shared a tragic story today of another brother who was meeting himself inch by inch, step by step on this path of self-forgiveness and self-love and self-appreciation and acceptance, and he got hit by fear and shame and some story that made him feel he could not stay here another day. And he left. The work we have to do with each other is to remind each other, you are not crazy and you are not alone. We are not crazy and we are not alone. We are the ones we're waiting for. We are the ones who have the collective will to shift this storyline from fear and scarcity to love and abundance. This could be a good time. This could be a really good time. This could be a time where we show up with each other raw and vulnerable and scared and overwhelmed, and we think we have to have all the answers before we take the next step. And I promise you, we don't even know the right questions to ask about this moment, let alone offer up answers. All we can do is keep showing up in an open, my throat chakra is really, this is where fear gets us. We lose our voice. We're afraid to speak up. We're afraid to be too much, to ask more than what others can give us. And there is a wisdom in that, because the salvation doesn't come from outside of us. You still have to do the work, and there is something to doing it with others. You are not crazy. You are not alone. You are not crazy. You are not alone. I'll just stop there for now and just tell you I love you, and you are not crazy, and you are not alone. maybe so.